GiTC. All right.
All right.
I remember.
Hi there, I'm Fred, this is Ginger, and as usual, once you blend us together, what you get is gin in teacups. By now you should already know that we don't do your basic boring sessions. Well, this is not even a session. This is something different altogether. It's a new spin-off and it's called Where the Truth Begins.
This is because beside the amazing musicians, some of which we already had the privilege to have as guests in our lounge, there are also human beings working in the industry which contributed to bring us some of the most unparalleled music that has always been released. And the first person that we have the privilege to speak to is Mr. James Endeacott.
And by now you should be thinking basically two things. A, this is pure magic.
And Golden God.
And Golden God.
Gin in Teacups from the Albion song.
Yeah.
I thought so.
The first question we asked was about timing. It was about when did he realize that his life would have all been about music?
Oh, well, I guess looking back, it started when I was like in my early teens, when I started buying records all the time and going to gigs, and that's all I did. I got given a Beatles album when I was about 8 years old, 9 years old, and a Simon Garfunkel album. And I fell in love with them. I just fell in love with music. I fell in love with the Beatles. And then when I was about 12 or 13, I discovered punk rock. About 1977, 78, when I was 12, 13 years old. I was just fascinated by it, by everything about it. And then I started hearing the records. I just got involved. I just started playing records. I started buying records, buying more records, going to gigs, writing to bands. It was years before the internet, so I used to write to bands. Because then if you bought a single, there was no information, just the name of the record label on there. I used to write to record label, and I once got a letter back from Peter Hook from Joy Division, just before they did their second album, and I wrote to Pill, Public Image Limited, and I got a letter back from them, and just various people used to write back to me. I just got really involved. And then when I left school, I went to university down in Devon, in the southwest of England, and then I moved to London in June 86. And I met some people who I knew via this, that, and somebody was looking for somebody to be in a band, so I joined a band. I was in a band for a couple of years, and I started working at a record label, and then and here I am now. So it's a whole series of incidents that happened. I just happened to be in the right place at the right time, every time.
And following his train of thought, I got cruel and asked if he ever had a moment of true fear when he thought everything was lost.
Yeah, every day. I feel like it's lost. No, well, in a sense of what I always felt, I never felt it was a job. You see, I never felt it was a job that I was doing. When I first started, I was in a band, and then I was working in shops and working for record companies. It was never a job. It was always I was doing it until I got a job. And I still think that. I still think that now, and I'm 45 years old, and I still think I must get a job one day. I've got to get a job soon. Because this to me just feels like a hobby. You know, working with bands and records, it's just a hobby. I'm very lucky, I'm very lucky that I'm one of those lucky people that my hobby has become my work. I'm doing now what I did when I was 12. I'm buying records and I'm going to gigs. And I'm still doing that, and I'm 45. I'm still buying records and going to gigs. I just get paid for doing it now, which is miraculous. Somebody's looking after me somewhere. Somebody.
Being the A&R guru that Mr. Endeacott is, we asked him what he thinks is more important to have when you have to deal with talent. If A, previous industry experience that you can make up for what the talent might not know about the business part.
Or B, if it's more crucial to have been an artist yourself.
B, definitely B. I think it really helped me. When I didn't start doing A&R. I started doing A&R when I started working at Rough Trade Records in the late 90s. About 98, 99. And so I would have been, how old would I have been then? Well, 35 nearly, And I asked to do A&R, and it was just, I think my experience of being in a band and being moderately successful. I also managed a band in the 90s as well called Tindersticks. And I travelled the world with them, and I managed them and saw them sign to a major label. Saw them get really successful in Europe, mainland Europe, do quite well here, did tours of the States and everywhere. And I learned a lot about the industry. But I think what really helped me doing A&R was the fact I'd been in a band myself and I'd seen what it was like. And I think all those things combined together, and also having a bit of experience of age as well, to get all those things to happen to you, you've got to be you can't do that when you're 19. You haven't lived anything. You've got no experiences. So I think all those different experiences all help me. When I go and meet a band, I've been in a band, I've worked in a record shop, I've worked at a record label, I've managed a band, so it all helps. So I've got a good idea of how all the different aspects of it all work, and I think that really helps. I mean, it's good to have a bit of industry knowledge, but the main thing you want is passion and belief, for the music and for the group. And I think, if you've got that, you're halfway there.
And having him talking about that, we couldn't help but ask him, what is the feeling that he gets when he actually can see that this is something that will change music?
Yeah, it's like the hairs on the back of your neck standing up, You get a tingling feeling. When you feel as though it's like, when you've listened to records and watching groups for many, many years, you think you've seen it all, you think you've done it all. And nothing will ever beat your last great experience. I think the great thing about music, which will continue to happen until the day I die, and will always happen, is that you never know what's around the corner. You never know. I'm going to go meet a friend this afternoon. He may give me a CD of a band I've never heard of before, and they may become my favourite all-time band. Or I may go and see a band next week that I've never heard of, and they may just turn my life upside down. It may not happen. Well, it's just that feeling of excitement, and it's that feeling of endless possibilities, of naivety, I guess of youthfulness as well, of just that total zest for life and just that energy and excitement that you can only get, I think, from music. Well, I think you get it from movies and literature, but for me, it comes out through music, and I just think there's no specific feeling because everything's different. Like every time you fall in love, it's different. Every time you eat a pizza, it's different. Every time you have a cup of coffee, it's different. But yeah, there's something about a pizza that you love, or there's something about coffee that you love. There's something about music you love. I can't put it down, otherwise that would be the X Factor, and I'd know, and I'd be a millionaire. But I love the feeling you get. It's just that you don't really know what's going to happen, and it's just exciting and it's dangerous, exciting, mysterious. All those things all combined as one big melting pot. It's great.
Considering how much he knows about the matter, we asked him what he reckons should be the role of a label today.
I think it's various things. I think labels over the years, like great labels like Motown, had a specific sound, or Phil Spector's label, or you get various labels over the years, even more recent ones like maybe Postcard or Creation. Maybe they've got a generic sound or something similar about them all. But I think what it is, I think a label is very much an expression of the person who's the head of that label. It's very much what they're about. And with me, when I started doing 1965, I just wanted it to be what was in my head, really. And I like listening to jazz records, or I like listening to folk music, or I like listening to rock and roll, or whatever. And I just wanted I wanted people to realise that, you don't need to just go down one line, and you can open your mind to lots of different types of things. And I think I'd like to get to a point, I think a great label is when you walk into a record shop and you pick up the record or the CD and it's got the name of the label on there. You've not heard of the artist, but you know there's some quality there. And whether that's on 4AD or whether it's on mute, whatever your feeling is, you get a certain empathy with the person that's running that label. And what they like, you're probably going to like as well. Even though you might not really like folk music, you think, well, if that person's putting out their label and I liked everything else, maybe there's something in this that I've never really spotted before. I think that's the job of a label, is to, not to educate, but to sort of make things available, make people realise that there's a lot of stuff out there, a lot of exciting stuff.
Mr. Endeacott is famous for his passion and excitement, and the fact that he's not afraid to show it, which is really unusual within the music industry people in the UK.
So, what's wrong with them?
They're all too frightened, I think. I get excited, I'll go to gigs and I'll shout at bands, and I'll fall over and get drunk with them. I'll get into trouble with them. I'll do all sorts of things. You have to live the life. You've got to live the part of it. You've got to be it. You've got to get yourself involved in it. When I was working with the Strokes, I felt like I was in the Strokes. When I was working with the Libertines, I felt like I was in the Libertines. Now I'm working with the View, I feel like I'm in the View. It's like you have to feel a part of it. And I think people in general, especially British people, maybe English people, even more specific, very concerned about what other people think. I don't give a monkey's what people think about me. I don't care. I don't give a fuck, People like me or they don't like me. You take me, this is what I am. I learned many years ago I used to spend my life putting on different hats for different occasions. You know, I'd be meeting, so I'd meet you two, and I put a certain hat on. I'd go meet Mr. Jones down the road. I put another hat on. I'd meet this Mrs. So-and-so. And you realise, I don't want to play games anymore. This is me. This is who I am. If you don't like it, fine. I've got a load of friends. I don't need loads of friends. I don't need any more. Do you know what I mean? It's just like, you just be yourself. And I guess, you know, I do exaggerate myself a lot of the time. That's just because I guess I'm quite attention-seeking. This is going to end up me being crossed, you know, like, attention-seeking man. No, but you know, I do enjoy attention. I enjoy being centre of attention. You know, I think we all do. You know, and I'm in quite a fortunate position where I can command attention sometimes. Sometimes I do it quite well, and sometimes I do it shockingly badly. But it's so tough because, you know, as you say, there are so many people who are so reserved and won't express their feelings. And I just think, just be yourself. You know, I know I'm not a bad person. I know my music taste is not weird. I like the Beatles and I like the Rolling Stones. You know, everybody likes the Beatles and the Rolling Stones. So if I like a band, then other people are going to like it. My taste is not weird. I'm not a weird person. I'm a big, you know, exaggerated person. But, you know, so what? Life's that long. And I'm halfway through it already, well over halfway through it. So let's, you know, have a good time. And if you can touch people in a certain way by a record you put out, or by you making a funny joke, or by you falling over flat on your face, and you bring a smile to somebody, then to me it's all the same. It's all the same, you know, you want to try and touch people in some way, don't you? And I'm lucky that I can put records out and they touch people, and some of the records I put out have changed people's lives. And that's great. You know, and I'm sure that hopefully some people that I've met I've had an influence on. Maybe it's good or maybe it's bad. Well, you know, I don't know. But, you know, and it's nice, you know, and it's nice to be able to do that. Just as long as you don't become a wanker and you don't become big-headed about it, I think you're all right. You know what I mean?